Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Dewey. I appreciate the call and response. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy New Year. It is fantastic to see you. And I know some of us are viewing each other, but I have to say it means something special to me to see you today. It is a warm feeling to see you all. It's a warm feeling to have a Happy New Year. I know you are a particular crowd that knows what that means when you say it in August. And it feels good to see all of you. It really does. I appreciate you making time. I recognize we have a lot of colleagues and teammates who are watching us in cyberspace. But the message for all of you from me is I'm excited to see you. I'm excited about this new year. I appreciate all of you who have made it out here, and it really just does feel so great to see you. One of the traditions that I've enjoyed introducing at each one of these, and now this is the fifth one, I think, Kathy Demetriou mentioned to me, the fifth time you've all had to listen to me blather on in August. But the best part of this presentation is having one of our leaders talk to us from the Board of Trustees. And so without any further ado, I'll introduce my colleague and teammate and one of my leaders here at the college, a former vice chair and former chair, and now trustee in good standing, Jim Thorpe. Please help me in welcoming Trustee Thorpe.
Good morning. So I thought what I would do today is give you a story on how it relates to the college. 2 weeks ago, I took a weekend trip with my daughter, who's about to be a senior in high school. Anyone with kids knows that they grow up quicker than you think they would, and you want to cherish every possible moment. So we've got season passes to all of the Cedar Point parks. We said, all right, we're going down to Kings Island. We're at Kings Island, we're riding the rides, we're having a great time. I'm doing my normal dad things. I check pockets after each ride, making sure phone's here, wallet's here, keys are here. We're going through the day, it's great, it's 5 o'clock, I do the pocket check, and something's missing. I've lost my keys. Kings Island is 3.5 hours from Metro Detroit. And if any of you have a car newer than I don't know when, you know that the key, though there is still a key, it's really just decoration. It's a button you gotta push. So even if someone can get me into the car, then I can just sit in my car until I can actually figure out how to make it go. So you plan to have all these good times, then life happens. So I think back to the college. We start this year, calendar year, in a great position. Things are working well. We're completing the strategic plan. Financially, things are good. The energy plan is in final stages. And then somebody decides to send a note to the board saying, I've got an opportunity that I can't pass up. And the board has to react the way that they normally do, which is that we've got to start a search. Now, going back to Kings Island, my daughter is watching how I'm going to react to this. The reaction cannot be screaming and panic. Panic is not a good strategy in these types of situations. And we know that the college, all of you, are looking to us to say, oh hell, what's happening next? Well, sorry, we've had more than one president through the years. We've gone through this process before. We put processes in place so when something goes wrong or life happens, we can keep moving forward. So we had to start implementing these processes. Then, going back down to Kings Island, I'm figuring out everything possible, and I'm trying not to panic for her because, I mean, if you've ever had a teenager, they overreact quite easily to things. So what I'm already going through in my head is, all right, we're a few hours away from home. There's no hotels right by Kings Island, so the idea of the overnight is really not appeasing to me. I'm blasting out text after text after text to people saying, who's willing to go over to my house to find the spare key and bring it down? I know this is an ask. This is one heck of an ask that I'm making to somebody. But I'm doing this, And mind you, I'm still in line for other rides because what the hell? If I'm going to be stuck here for a couple hours, I'm going to have some fun while I'm doing this. So I come back again to the college, and a couple of months later, life happens, and we're back to where we were before, and we make it through the summer, and we're so glad to have President Cavalluna still with us. But you create something happens, and then you have to start planning. You can try to put the plans in place beforehand, but then a pandemic happens, and you have to start flying by the seat of your pants, and you're making it up as you go. And that's the way life goes with you. So we create these plans. The college is in a great place right now in terms of plans. We just created the strategic plan. Many of you helped us make this happen. It's going to be focused on student success, which is a pretty basic thing, I would think, for a college or a university to want to do. We want to make sure that the access is available. We want to make sure that they're able to transfer. We want to increase our retention. And we're looking for their completion rate. Did I get all 4 of them? Sweet. 1 minute of memorization worked again for me. But we've put these plans in place. We've got a team in place. We don't worry about something wrong happening. It will happen. And for all of you, you've got these backup plans in place too. So besides texting, I'm also sitting there going through, all right, next time this could happen, what do I do? Only zipper pockets? Maybe I buy the locker at the beginning of the day so this can't be a possibility, right? Now again, 30 years of doing this, and this is the first time it's happened, so I can't overreact to it. It's not always going to go wrong. So the other thing I mentioned is I ended up having 3 takers to bring me my keys. While this process started at 5, it was probably about 7 o'clock by the time they were able to get on the road to get down to us. The park closed at 10, but we were able to kind of hang out inside till 10:30, and then we waited by the car for the last half hour. They pulled in at 11 o'clock. They dropped off the keys. We joked, made some comments about how dumb it was to lose the keys. I totally get it, and I have to take it in that respect. I bought them a tank of gas, and they got home at 3 in the morning. And what they said is, I would not have wanted to be in that position myself, and I hoped somebody would help. So at work, you know things are going to go wrong. You've got your coworkers there. You've got to have each other's backs, right? Whether it's that you're not able to make it to work and somebody needs to cover, you're locked out of the car, there's something wrong with babysitting, but develop relationships so when things go wrong, you're able to make it through. We got the car keys, jumped in the car, proceeded on. Next day was Cedar Point. We made memories, some that we didn't want to make, but we made them. And that's the way life is, isn't it? So as we get ready to embark on a new school year, I wish you the best. I hope things go according to plans, but when you know that they won't, good luck with the improvisation, and make sure you've always got friends there to back you up when you need them. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Trustee Thorpe and friends and colleagues. I know many of you wonder if I script these speeches from the trustees, and this morning was the best evidence that the answer is no. Thank you, Trustee Thorpe. I should also introduce a couple of his colleagues. I see his colleague, former chair, Trustee Mary Petlichkoff. Please welcome Mary Petlichkoff. And I see Trustee Adel Mosop, who's the current vice chair of the board. And I don't see any other trustees. Does anyone see any other? Oh, Trustee Irene Watts hiding in the very back. Welcome, Trustee Watts. So, as I mentioned, it's exciting to have you all back here. I'm excited to be here with you at the beginning of what seems like a new beginning. We've spent a long time away from each other. We've spent a long time wondering what was next for us and for the college. And Trustee Thorpe mentioned something that I feel really strongly about, and that is our strategic plan. You've heard me talk about that. If you've been watching my statements throughout the college, you know that it's extraordinarily important to all of us because it is uniquely focused. And I say uniquely because I don't see many other strategic plans with this amount of precision on what is the pivotal time, the pivotal question of our time, and that is student success. And it includes aggressive goals that we have identified as where we want to go, because we need to work together to help us improve on student success. Because the truth is, we're here for that. I know that each of you have devoted your waking hours to student success, to changing lives through public education, which is why that strategic plan is so important to all of us. And today, most of my time will be talking to you about how we are going to deploy strategies to advance the goals in that strategic plan. But of course, it wouldn't be a State of the College unless we had a trustee speak and speak their mind clearly, which we've accomplished, have a couple updates from me on some of the general operations of the college. And there's really nothing more fun for me to do than to outline some of our new teammates. And I do that every year, and I'm looking forward to doing it again today. So if we're going to be successful in this strategic plan, we clearly are going to have to rely on each other. And I've used the word teammate during my time here with you, and I hope you have picked it up, because if we are going to accomplish something bigger than ourselves, we are going to have to work as teammates. And we've done that. Heck, we got through a pandemic by serving each other as teammates. So here in these next two slides are the folks that have joined us as teammates since the last State of the College, which is January. And you can see their name on these slides, and I will be following up this presentation with a message out to all of you, which will include these individuals and those that are not on this slide but who have retired from the college, and our thanks for their service, and those who have earned terminal degrees or tenure. And I would like to ask if any of you all are here who have been on these two slides to hear me. We're excited to have you here. We believe you are part of our team. And one of the ways we do that is we identify you, we say hello to you, we welcome you. And I know it may feel a little bit like the spotlight is on you, but if you're a new teammate on either of these two slides, or if, God forbid, I forgot your name on one of these slides and you're new since January, please stand up and let us see who you are. Do we have any new teammates? And let's welcome our new teammates. Hi. So colleagues who are not new, I hope you saw those folks, and please do me a favor. When we are moving out of this room today and throughout the rest of the semester, please reach out to those people. Tell them, welcome to the team. How can I help you? Tell them what you're proud about this institution. Maybe even tell them what you don't think is working so well, or something that you can work together with them to fix. Of course, this is the State of the College, and you know we wouldn't have a State of the College unless I did give you an update on enrollment. And I will do that now because it's a central factor to the health of our college. I've talked to you about that in the past. And as of this morning, we have enrolled 94,000 credits. I know and I appreciate that almost no one in this room counts the credits as closely as me, except maybe Holly Diamond. But I give you this information because that is a really important metric for one of the things that is my obligation and some of the others on the cabinet, that is our budget. We have budgeted to have 105,000 credit hours for this semester, and we're at 94,000 credits now. Now, I've looked at the other community colleges in the region as recently as this morning, and I can tell you that if you look at where we were at this point last year and where those schools were, and there are really about 5 to 6 large community colleges in Michigan, I will tell you that the declining enrollment in Michigan, and frankly the region, has spread across the state. And so while we are down from last year, we're not as far down as any of the large community colleges except for one. So it's a mixed story on that. I also wanted to share with you the thing we're looking at pretty closely, which is where our students are enrolling. And if you went back 3 years ago, we had less than 10% of our courses in anything other than traditional face-to-face courses. But now you can see that in the various schools of the college, we have varying delivery models. And I know those of you who do the teaching and who do recruiting and enrollment know some of this information, but I thought it might be useful to see where our students are engaging with you all in the classrooms. We've got about 50% on campus or hybrid, about 50% online courses, including live without the drive and asynchronous. And you can see the schools actually in their curricula have a little bit of a difference, which might be intuitive. STEM has the highest percentage of face-to-face courses, and our School of Liberal Arts has the highest percentage of online courses. I know that this is tough work, enrolling people. I know that it's not the most sexy thing to talk about at a state of the college, and I appreciate all of you who work so hard on this part of our college, getting students enrolled in these classes in the fall semester. I have to acknowledge some of the hard work and some of the innovative ways we're trying to continue to really fight against the stream here. With demographic trends in Michigan, it is pushing against a headwind. But we've stood up really innovative ways to try to increase or at least maintain enrollment. For example, the What's Next sessions, Cyber Services Saturday, and Hawk Power Hours. I know many people here have gone out of their own normal job descriptions to help those things, and I appreciate you so much. We continue to connect with students throughout every channel that's available to us and make individual outreach to individual students on all of our enrollment services and admissions and recruiting teams. I appreciate those of you who are doing that work. I know you're right in the trenches right now, and I appreciate everything you're doing to try to help us with this question of enrollment. Now, the enrollment question simply will not be solved by enrolling more students. And that's a good segue to our strategic plan, because the strategic plan is intended to help us reverse this trend at our college. And now I'm going to get into the budget, which is another item that I know you just can't wait to get to State of the College to hear about. But I feel like part of my duty to you is to tell you the health of the college and then explain some of the exciting things we're doing. And the budget for our college, as you probably know, is made up of 3 revenue sources. One is state appropriations, one is property taxes, and one is what I describe as a healthy enrollment. Of these 3, you know that there's really only one thing all of us in this room can control on the short term, and that is enrollment. Now, as I've mentioned, enrollment relies on retention as much as it does recruiting. I know you know this, but it connects to what we should focus on as helping students be successful. Our overall general fund in the college for this fiscal year is about $95 million, and tuition accounts for over half of that. And you know that tuition is a direct link to enrollment. The rest of our revenue comes from state appropriations and property tax, and this budget assumes that we'll have the same enrollment that we did last year. And we will have to make a mid-year adjustment, as we do each year, to decide whether we're making enough revenue or less and make adjustments. I also want to point your attention to property tax. Property tax is almost $16 million of our $95 million budget. And I need you to know that that is essential to what we all are here to do. It is essential to us being the full-service, broad, community-based community college. So I'm going to ask you, when you're out in our community, when you're in my community and your community, please tell people the value that Henry Ford College brings. There are more and more questions about public service from any government entity. And we are the advocates that need to continue to say to people in our community, we offer value. And I'll give you one tactical piece of advice. Tell people in your community about a student who you've seen change their life through Henry Ford College. Tell them about how a student has changed your life as an employee of Henry Ford College. And please, help me. No one will come around and say how wonderful Henry Ford College is from the outside. We have to be our own ambassadors. We have to tell the community why we are deserving of their precious tax dollars. And those of you in the Dearborn region know that that is a debate that some institutions have struggled to make. We cannot be one of those institutions. We've been working on something that you've told me is very important to you, and I believe it is very important also, and that is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. Now, for the past 2 years, the team at the college has been working on this. We've done a climate survey and focus groups. We've shared those results with you, and now we're relying on those results along with the internal and external expertise to evaluate whether we should have a position at Henry Ford College that is what many institutions call a chief diversity officer. And I just want to be candid with you. I've heard many of you who've said you want this position, and I am convinced that we should develop a job description for that position for the college. We're now going to move into the process with all the work we've done to evaluate what that position should do. And I encourage you to tell me and to tell anyone who you know on the cabinet what that position should do. But for those of you who've been asking me to conclude we do need this position, I'm here to tell you that we're ready to start building the job description. But that's not the only work we're doing here. I see my relatively new colleague, Ms. Davis from HR, and she's been leading, if you don't know her, Trustee Davis is the Assistant Director of Performance Development and Engagement. She's been developing a new DEIB talent management strategy for the college, and for those of you who've been on a search committee, you've probably seen and interacted with what this new DEIB hiring practice includes. I'm proud to say that it is now in effect. The Board of Trustees unanimously approved this plan, and this process is intended to help us get and attract individuals to be your teammates who will bring us diverse backgrounds, experiences, abilities, talents, and perspectives, because we know that that's important. And we live in a state where the state constitution precludes what you all know is generally described as affirmative action. It is against the law in Michigan to pick an employee for a public institution on the basis of their race or their gender or their creed. And so in order to follow that law, but also get what we know adds value, the diversity of a team, we've entrusted HR under the leadership with Trustee Davis, and I hope you soon have the opportunity to engage in that process. Tracy, raise your hand, Tracy. I don't know. There's Ms. Davis. All right, so the most exciting part about this presentation is talking about where we're headed with this strategic plan. And the basis of this plan is to make us, and I want to be very clear about this, we have a chance to be the regional leader on student success. We have the chance to get ahead of anyone else who does the work that we do in being the best at what is the most important thing right now. And I am not using hyperbole here. The rest of our community and our region and our country is soon, and some are already, pushing on this question. What are you doing to help students be successful? We have a chance to be the leader on that. So I'm so excited about this strategic plan because it positions us to do that, to be the leader. It allows us to make improvements on what inspires each of you to be here. I know that because I've been with you through the trenches. I've walked the halls with you. I've met your students. I know the reason you get out of bed in the morning is because you believe what I believe, what I've lived. That the education we deliver at this institution can change lives. It changed my family's life. It changes the lives of your students. It changed the lives of most of you sitting here. And this strategic plan will give us the opportunity to continue to do that life's work that you're devoted to, but also put us as the leader institution on that question. So it's good policy, but it's also really important that we keep this institution of 85 years going for another 85 years. But it's going to require all of us to pull together. Because that's what really has to happen anytime people get together and do something bigger than themselves. They have to accept that it's bigger than themselves and work to pull together to do something that's bigger than ourselves. And I know that you can do it, and I'm so excited about this plan because it allows us to focus on our strengths and address our weaknesses. In fact, the best part of this plan is that it's not some Cavaluna thing he dreamed up some afternoon. It's not something that two leaders of this campus came up with. This was a product of what is our fundamental strength. It was a product of our teamwork. A cross-campus team came together and spent months trying to figure out who we want to be as an institution and where we need to go. And they came up with the idea that we need to be the leader on student success. Now, because it was a product of teamwork, because we worked hard to educate each other about what we wanted to do and where we wanted to go, because of that collaborative process, our board unanimously endorsed this. Our teammates and leaders of the college have been at the drawing board together to draw it up. And our external entities, I will tell you, I do walk around with this strategic plan. And I show external entities, funders, and they have already identified, hey, Henry Ford College is the one that has identified what the next big step is for higher education. This plan is already identified by external entities as a leader plan. So the next step is, what are we going to do to try to advance these goals? And I've asked some of my teammates hand out to you the copy of the strategic plan. I hope you have it on your desk, and I'm going to be referencing some of what's on the table in front of you. These are the initiatives that we're going to try to roll forward in the next 2 years to advance this strategic plan. And you know that this strategic plan is broken up into 4 priorities that you see here. And under each priority are 2 goals. And I would challenge you to find another plan for a college that has as specific goals as we have. Those are intimidating. I got to say, as a leader of a college, those are intimidating, to put forth clearly, concisely what we want to achieve. Almost feels like taking a class. But this strategic plan will be the way that we can work together to make this college the best college for student success in the region. Now, the most important aspect of this is something you're going to hear me say over and over and over again, and it is student success. And I cannot overstate how important this is. I have staked the college and my position on this plan working to position this college as the leader for student success. Our focus of this plan is students, because our college can only be successful if our students are successful. Now, a lot of people have said that, but not many have put it up, looked themselves in the mirror and said, this is how we're going to rate ourselves on student success. But I would pose to you, if looking in the mirror feels a little intimidating, I would pose to you that this is an extraordinary opportunity for all of us. You have proven that you are hardworking, caring, smart professionals. You're great teammates to each other. You have used your expertise and your determination to help students and each other. Often, you've done all this work with less resources than some of the people who compete with you at other institutions. But it's you. It is you and the work I've seen you do that makes me so confident to put such a glaringly stark plan in front of the community and in front of the board. So it is our student outcomes where we collectively have decided we want to focus. And it is the student outcomes how we will measure our success. So if you were on that strategic planning team, and I see many of those who are here, you know the following. And it's tough to hear, but it's the truth. Right now, our students are not completing our programs or graduating enough of the time. Not enough of our students are staying enrolled and staying on track to get a degree or a certificate or to move on to a four-year institution. Even worse, if you look at how we're helping students be successful and you separate the data for underrepresented students, it's unacceptably low. We can't accept that. The difference between majority students and minority students is something we have to look square in the eye. And we have to move that gap to zero. And this plan, because of you, can help us do it. Now, I know that sounds a little intimidating. I say it to myself, and I think I'm admitting we're not as good as we want to be. I know that that hurts. But you are going to be able to make this progress on student success. I know you can do it. And I know we have to do it. We have to do it because people are starting to ask. You know that our friends outside of this institution and outside of higher education have started to ask, how do you know if you're successful? You know, we have been really successful advocating for how much we deserve funding. In fact, over the last 4 years, we've increased state funding and philanthropic support. But soon, and no one advocates for that more than me, I can promise you I will tell anyone who asks how wonderful a job you all do, how many lives you change, but I can promise you the questions are going to start coming. What is the return on the investment that we have made? And you don't need to take my word for it. If you read the budgets that are coming out of Michigan, they're starting to put the questions to us. They're starting to cap the amount of tuition we can raise. They're starting to ask, if you deserve what is over 25% of our budget from state aid, show us that you have metrics that prove your students are successful. So please, if you feel a tinge in your ear that, man, I don't know if we should really be pushing this hard on ourselves, maybe Cavaloon is wrong about that. Don't take my word for it. Read the bills in Lansing. Understand that this is not only what we want to do for our students, it is necessary for the future of this college. So, I believe, I know that this strategic plan is how we can answer those questions. I know of this because it's because of the work of Tony Perry, Eric Rader, Michael Nealon, Lori Gonko, Chardon Claiborne, Stephanie Latsky, those people and so many more who are on the strategic planning team with me. I see Kiembra Pearson. Those people did this work. They looked at where we can be, where other institutions are. They studied models of excellence across the country. They looked at the National Institute for Student Success. They spent countless hours defining how we can be the best. And just because we put it on paper, external entities like the Detroit Regional Chamber have identified Henry Ford College as the leader in setting the standards. Just because we were willing to say we're going to improve on these things. And we have to. It might surprise you, I hope it doesn't, but it might surprise you that if you look at retention across Southeast Michigan in community colleges, we're average. Not just us, the whole region. We're average. At the best. If you look at graduation rates, and for Henry Ford College, we are far below the national average. Far below. And we're fighting headwinds in the enrollment category. We're pretty good at retention from winter to fall, but we at Henry Ford College here we're not good at winter to fall retention. And we're definitely in need of improvement on our graduation rates. So we at the strategic plan said, what can we do? What can we do to address these things and to put us in a position where we will be the leader? And we've got 2 years to do it. You've seen this plan. I'll be held accountable for this plan. The college's future will depend on this plan. And I'll tell you this, we can do this. And when we do it, we will serve students the way you want to and the way the external entities want to see us serve students, and you'll never have to wonder about the future of this college. So how are we going to do it? We've been spending time going through initiatives that we would tackle for the first at least year and maybe 2 years for this strategic plan, and I'm going to go through those for you now. These are not all of the strategies, and if you have a strategy that you think works, please come to me or anyone you know on the strategic planning team, because we are going to have to advance these 8 goals immediately. After this presentation, I'll be sending all this around in an after session message, so please don't feel like you've got to scribble down any of these things in detail. The first thing that we're going to initially set up is a K-12 relations office, and I'll tell you a bit about that. We're proud to have more dual enrolled students at Henry Ford College than any other institution in Michigan. And those students are high performing, and we want to increase more of those students. In fact, Dr. Nealon has identified that his goal is to at least one of the local high schools to have 70% of the students in that high school at least get some college credit from Henry Ford College. And so we are going to invest resources in a K-12 relations position that will work collaboratively between the college and high schools, and this will also be useful to drive one of the goals, which is to increase enrollment in underrepresented minorities in our college. The next thing we're going to do is realign our admissions and recruiting team. We need to hire a new director of admissions. That position has been posted. If you have good candidates for that, please send them to our HR team. And we're going to build on our strengths and shift our focus. That person will be increasing staffing at the admissions team, and we're going to work between that area and that K-12 relations director to increase both new students from high schools on the west side of Detroit and to redouble our efforts to recruit adult students. Again, I'm going to be moving through these initiatives quickly, and I'm sure several of you will say, hey, that touches my area, or hey, I wonder if I can help on that. Please, today or any day after today, let me know, or any of the leaders who are listed on these slides, about your ideas and how you can aid these initiatives. The goal of this next initiative is to reduce the burden that students face to get enrolled at Henry Ford College. We're wondering whether we can automate steps, reduce steps, make them easier for students to be enrolled. And we're going to start by evaluating the admissions process and how we engage different populations. One idea is to make it easier for them to get transcripts or somehow get rid of that requirement for them. We also know that we want to do a better job personalizing our communication with students to help them feel a connection to the college that makes them feel they belong. You know who are in the classrooms. You know who are enrolling students. When they feel like they have a connection and they belong here, they are more apt to enroll and are more successful. Holly Diamond and many of her teammates have decided that they're going to try to stand up a process where we move the institution to support the student through something called a student success team, rather than to have the student figure out who they should approach amongst us for the help that they need. Now, this is going to take a lot of difficult moves about who and what should be doing what. But the truth is, to be successful, and this strategic planning team did look at other institutions that did this, they moved the institutional barriers or the silos within the institution out from between the student and us as people, and they supported the student with a easy, clear way for the student to understand, how do I handle the fact that I can't get enrolled? How do I handle the fact that financial aid is not working? How do I handle the fact that I can't pay my water bill? How do I handle the fact that my parents have put me out of the house? These student success teams, if they can do what we hope they can do, will give the student an opportunity to go to one place and get all that support. Dr. Nealon and Holly Diamond are working to try to provide classes when the students need them at what type of delivery method to help us become a more student-centered academic institution. Now, we're going to use data to implement this, and our goal will be to make the student's experience interacting with our class schedule more responsive to their needs. Now, I know each of you who are in these classrooms, you have a lot of information about this, and please understand, Dr. Nealon and Holly Diamond and the team that's standing this up don't expect that they have all the answers. But we do know from other institutions that have done this, that if you set up an easy path for students, especially in their scheduling, it leads to their student success. And so we're going to try to start some of those right away. Another way to get out in front of students who are on their way to leaving our institution is to set up what is called predictive analytics. And this is the way that we find students that may have problems before they have problems and devote resources to them. We started something like that and continue to do it with something we call the early alert system, but we need to augment it and scale it across the entire campus. And we'll build on this idea with hopefully a software platform that will give us heads up with more opportunity to engage students. And most of this, candidly, the best science on this comes from feedback for the people who interact with students the most directly. And most of that is classroom. But you have to, I know teaching a class, you've got more emails and more questions and more duties to do than time to do it. So on an administrative level, it's incumbent upon me to deliver to you in the classroom ways that you can help us quickly and effectively. And we're hoping that this will be a way we can do that. The truth is, this will be a way to use our data to try to find out how to serve our students better. Because right now, I've talked to you in the classrooms. I've talked to you enrolling, counseling, and advising students. You're sometimes out there on your own, putting together your own methods to handle these problems. We as administration need to help you build upon those and scale best practices. Now, data will tell us that students benefit from following a clear, accessible academic path. These paths need to make sense to students, they need to be easy for them to follow, and they need to be tied to careers or to a meaningful transfer. And so we are going to look at gateway courses as a way to be clear to students, helping them both have an understanding of an exploration of what they want to do with their academic career and their professional career, but also giving them clear pathways to success. We also know that students who have had institutions do this for them close the equity gap. This is a tried and true method to close the disparity between students of color and students who are not students of color and their success metrics. I've heard since I've been here that we need to get clear. We need to get clear about what counseling does, what advising does, what early alert does. And I've asked Holly Diamond to develop a plan to be clear on that and to understand who does what for what students. And this is part and parcel of her student success team's plan. But this will, if we get clear on this, this will increase retention and completion rates, and it will implement a consistent, proactive way for our staff to interact with students. Sometimes that's called intrusive advising. I'll stay away from that because I don't think anyone likes the idea of having someone being told, I'm going to be intrusive on you. But the truth is, a lot of these students deserve more active, intentional engagement. And to do that, we're going to have to add resources to this. Right now, our advisor to student ratio is 1,300 to 1. Holly Diamond and I have committed that we're going to try and knock that down to 700 to 1. And that won't be the end of it. The truth is, where we do work on this and where other institutions do work on this and they spend resources helping students with these supports, the return on the investment is clear, and we need to get lower than 700 to 1 on these ratios. Now, I know this has been an issue for the college for years. We've had some difficult internal debates about counselors and advisors, and I'm committed to you, as is Holly Diamond, who is the new Vice President of Student Affairs, to be clear that counselors have a major role at this college and that they will help and be part of this. But we can get better in defining our roles in counseling and advising, and we will do that. You know, one of the things that is an easy thing to do to increase completion is to give students certificates and diplomas that they've earned automatically. This institution grants about 1,500 certificates and diplomas each year. The first year of the pandemic, we turned a switch that auto-awarded those, and we almost did 3 times. We almost made 4,500 certificates and diplomas, and the data's clear. If we hand someone a diploma or a certificate, their life is better. They make more money. They're healthier and safer. Now, you might ask, well, why don't we do that every year? The truth is, financial aid regulations caused us to have to pause auto-awarding, particularly for programs that we needed to do well, like Michigan Reconnect and Futures for Frontliners. But we think we figured out a way to both comply with the financial aid regulations, but also turn on auto-award. And as you can see, Dr. Gonko is working on this. And I know that this will be a better way that we can move up our completion amounts. Now, I just want to step aside for a second and say, I know some of you, in fact, most of you don't get up in the morning thinking, I wish we could complete more students. At least that's not the metric for which you think you're doing well. And I appreciate and understand that. The reason we're focusing on completions is because of the questions I know that you will have also heard. How do you know you're doing well? If we put out more diplomas and more certificates, and this doesn't mean watering down what we do, none of you do that, but if we give students what they deserve, which is diplomas and certificates when they've earned them, we change their lives, and we'll be the only institution who's really focused on that. And I have to say to you, the persons who are going to be putting tough questions to us in the legislature and in philanthropy and our competitors, they are going to start asking, let me see your graduation rate and let me see the number of certificates and diplomas you're able to successfully put out. I'm excited about this one. Holly Diamond and her colleague Chad Austin. Did I see Chad today? I don't know if I did. They are going to reimagine the Career Services Office, and the reason they're doing it is because a foundation gave us about $10,000 to have the National Institute for Student Success come and look over all of our programs, and they said, you know, what you could probably do is add more resources and augment your ability to tell students, here's why you should take this course, here's the meaningful career, and here are the wages. And because that's what we're hearing students want, that's what we're going to do. We're going to stand up a better, more augmented, and more responsive career services office. One thing that we learned from that analysis from the National Institute for Student Success is we're not really strong in knowing across the institution how to help students deal with the issue of the cost to attend. Now, we've got all kinds of really good ways to help reduce that cost and eliminate it in some instances. Financial aid, scholarships, grants, and then for Perkins students, we even have an emergency grant process. But the areas doing that kind of support are not communicating. And so I'm leading an effort to try to figure out a way that we can help students get every single penny they need and deserve. And in part of that, we're going to stand up a system-wide emergency grant process that has been long needed, and the Faculty Senate have had a committee that said we needed to do that, and now we are going to stand that up. Dr. Nealon has led a really innovative and exciting way to help our students find their way from Henry Ford College to our four-year transfers much more effectively. The truth is, we have 3 major transfer partners, and Dr. Nealon is going to be able to make a wonderful announcement later this semester, I'm sure of it, where we're going to be able to say, hey, you come to Henry Ford College, we can guarantee you admission at University of Michigan Dearborn. And as soon as we get that, through something that he's describing as lean forward, as soon as we get that, Dr. Nealon's going to take it and sell it to Eastern Michigan University and Wayne State University. And so I really do believe that by the end of this calendar year, we will be one of the only institutions in the state where we can say, if you enroll at Henry Ford College and you do X, Y, and Z, you don't even have to worry about whether you're going to get into any of those institutions. And if you are interested and excited about that, talk to Dr. Nealon. I'll tell you, Dr. Nealon, I'm going to be telling everyone who listen about it, but I'll be saying to you all, that's something that you need to know Dr. Nealon cut the ice on, and he's almost there. He's almost there. That wasn't the only thing that he's leading on this. He and Rhonda DeLong have thought up this idea to go to high school students and say, Henry Ford College is your bridge to the university. Let's get you up to 2 years of college done while you're in high school. Then you'll come to us in Henry Ford College for 2 years, and then by the time you get to the university, you'll have only 2 years, maybe less, and you might even knock out your master's degree during that time period. That's what he's calling 2 + 2 + 2. Now, if you look at that strategic plan, you'll see that it is very clear in what the metrics are for our success. Again, that's a little intimidating. But to be transparent, to be serious about this, to help you see where we're trying to push, to ask for your help for making progress on these goals, I'm committed to you, and the IRR team with the leadership of Dr. Gonko will be putting forth a public dashboard for you and me and our board to see and grade us on any of these metrics. That will put us, as far as I can tell, as the only community college in the region and maybe the state who have said, this is where we're headed and this is the pulse of how we're doing. So when you see these dashboards, which will roll out this fall, please ask me questions about them. This will start the discussion and it'll drive where we're going to put resources in it. And I want to underscore with all these initiatives, I would not be bringing these initiatives to you or to your colleagues without realizing they take more investments. They take money and time and people. And we are ready to invest in these strategic initiatives. So we're almost done. And I want to conclude by telling you that I'm asking for your support in this strategic plan. I hope I've convinced you that it's right for our students and that it's necessary for the future of this college. And if I haven't, reach out to me. I'll sit down with you, with Tony Perry and Dr. Nealon and Dr. Rader, who sat with us and drew this up. And we'll explain why we think this will be the way to put our college as the regional leader of student success. It won't be easy, and we'll certainly have to make changes. Some of these initiatives might not work. I'm okay with that. The goal here isn't perfection. The goal here is to move the needle on those goals that you have before you on your desk now. And I promise you, I'm doing it right now. I am telling those people who want to invest in this college, in Lansing and in Detroit, and in corporate and philanthropic boardrooms, we deserve your investment because we've looked in the mirror. No one else can say that. Now all we have to do is go forward and do it, and I will support you. And we'll adjust these metrics, these initiatives to meet these metrics. I hope you're excited about it. If you're a little intimidated about it too, you can have some company with me. But we can do it, and we're going to do it. And before I hand the microphone over to my good friend, the Senate chairperson, Dr. Perry, I'm happy to take any questions you have. We've got microphones that will move up and down the aisle. Yes, Mr. Morford, how are you? I hope you had a good summer.
I'm doing well. I had a great summer, and I was pleased to see all these initiatives. The data I've seen historically at the college, and granted I haven't seen it in a couple of years, shows that the main reason we lose students is because they fail a class early in their career. And I did notice, a lot of the guided pathways, like initiatives that might help, but I think the biggest thing that would change success is something that impacted student success in the classroom. That's where they spend their time. That's the largest reason they're not retained. And so I wonder if initiatives related to supplemental instruction, tutoring, or mentoring came from the faculty, how likely are they to get funded? Is there money available for projects like that?
The very short answer, Jeff, is yes. But I want to also say that I agree with the premise of your question. It is clear that gateway courses and success or not in that gateway course is a prime indicator of longitudinal success. And you know it because you've probably seen it for the decades you've been here, that student, if I can get them through here and be successful, it'll have a dramatic impact, or the vice versa. And the first step to that is to find in our institution where our metrics are on each of those gateway courses. And I'm going to stand with you all, especially all you faculty who are in these tough gateway courses. But we're going to look at each course and see what is the rate of people who leave that without success, which is in the plan before you. It's called DEIB, drop, withdraw, or incomplete. And yeah, not Kevin Dewey. But Jeff, if we can get clear about where our students are having that problem, then we can go with you and have that discussion. Okay, let's address it. And it will not be immediately, well, that's the faculty's fault. If I were in a faculty seat, I would be worried that would be the conclusion. It will not be. It will be hey, this is a course where we are seeing disproportionately high rates of DEIB. Let's figure out a way to help our students get through. I was never given, and I've never seen any Achieve the Dream data for HFC. I will tell you that this fall, we'll be rolling out a dashboard where anyone from this institution wants to see a section of a course and its DEIB rate, you'll have it. And let me also say there's a development there. Dr. Gonko has led a reorganization of the IRR team. They have a new leader there named Jacob Krogel. If you haven't met him, I encourage you to send him an email and take a walk with him on campus. He likes to. There he is. There's Jacob. Stand up, Jacob. So now they know who they can come after. But I'll just be candid with you folks. I've not seen Henry Ford College have a very useful, responsive IRR team and a dashboard. That's going to change this semester. When you ask us, hey, Russ, how are you doing on the strategic plan? I'm going to point you to verifiable data about how we're doing on it, and then we're going to marshal resources to answer Jeff's question to try to move the needle on those things. We simply cannot be a thoughtful college on these important things without effective and reliable data. And we have made great progress in that area, and I can't wait to show you it because you know as well as I do, you cannot make a change and expect a result without knowing the data that you're hoping to see and see how you do. Other questions? Kevin, how are you? I hope you had a good summer.
Great. I just want to make a proposal to change the acronym to WIDE or something like that.
You're talking about the DEWI rate? Okay. Kevin, for those of you on the internet, Kevin didn't have a chance to get the microphone, but his last name sounds very similar to DEWI phonetically, and he's asking us to change that. I'll take it under advisement. Paul. President Rader, how are you this morning?
Good. Is it working?
It
Can
is.
you hear me? Okay. Over the course of the summer, I had meetings. Well, first of all, I kind of have two hats because I serve on the strategic planning team, and now I am the president of Local 1650. So I look at any of these proposals through different lenses, but certainly in my union hat. And I appreciated conversations I had with President Cavalluna, Dr. Nealon, and Vice President Diamond this summer about some of the proposals, in particular the realignment advising and counseling. We had a good conversation last week because there are some implications in terms of our contract with that, and also on the scheduling. I've talked to Dr. Nealon about that. So for 1650 members, we've had some discussions, and these are ongoing discussions about things that impact our contract and how we want to make sure that our contract is followed. And I've had good conversations with those leaders. So.
Yeah, thank you, President Rader. And I'll just say, for those of you who weren't aware, President Rader is the newly elected leader of AFT 1650, and I look forward to working with your membership, President Rader, and continuing what I've enjoyed as a productive and useful relationship between your unit and I know you as a person and a scholar, and I look forward to working with you. Any other questions? Ms. Demetriou, did we get out of here ahead of schedule for the first time ever? All right. Dr. Perry, do you want to adjourn for 10 minutes? Bathroom break, maybe? 10 minutes. All right, 10 minutes. I'll see you out there on the campus, folks.